The bill of quantities is the bill of quantities unless later changed in accordance with these conditions of contract. The completion date is the completion date unless later changed in accordance with the contract. What? The activity schedule is the activity schedule unless later changed in accordance with these conditions of contract. The NEC contract has defined terms like most other forms of contract, but it also has something called identified terms. Do you know the difference between these terms and how they're used? Understanding the role that these terms play is fundamental to navigating and administering the NEC contract. In this video, I'll be explaining what defined and identified terms are, where they're found, and how they're used. Now, if you haven't already done so, please consider subscribing to the channel and remember to hit the bell to get the notifications. Right, so let's get into it. The defined terms in the NEC contract are found in clause 11.2 of the core clauses and the main option clauses. You can also find defined terms in some of the secondary option clauses. You'll notice defined terms as they're capitalized, and this is deliberate to make sure we can distinguish them from undefined terms. Identified terms are found in contract data part 1 and part 2. Now, identified terms are written in italics. Again, this is a way of distinguishing them from other terms in the contract. The drafting style of the NEC contract is done in such a way that it doesn't contain any cross-referencing between clauses. That means that users of the NEC need to understand how clauses relate to each other. The contract sometimes uses a combination of defined terms and identified terms. This is beneficial as it allows the term to be relevant at tender stage. It provides the flexibility for the term to be changed during the contract, and that allows it to remain relevant throughout the life of the contract. An example of a defined term and an identified term being used together is found in the definition of the completion date. The definition of this term is found in clause 11.23, and it states, "The completion date is the completion date unless later changed in accordance with the contract." Now, you'll see that the defined term is in capitals and the identified term is in italics. We know that the identified term completion date is found in the contract data. Now, if the client has decided the completion date, this will be found in part 1, and if the contractor is to decide the completion date, it'll be found in part 2. So let's say at the start of a contract, the completion date is the 9th of May 2021. During the project, a compensation event occurs that causes planned completion to be delayed by 10 days. When that compensation event is implemented, the completion date is adjusted, and it would then be the 19th of May 2021. So let's have a look at the definition again. The completion date is the completion date unless later changed in accordance with the contract. The mechanism for changing the completion date is in core clause 66, which is the implementation of a compensation event. This is an example of the clauses not being cross-referenced. You need to understand how the clauses interrelate. So to recap, defined terms are found in clause 11.2 of the core and main option clauses, but you can also find some of the defined terms in the secondary option clauses. Identified terms, these are written in italics and they are found in the contract data. Now, I hope you found this video useful in understanding defined and identified terms in the NEC contract. And if you have and you feel it's added some value, please help us out by hitting the thumbs up button just to let YouTube know you've enjoyed the content. Thank you for watching. It's been great to have you. This has been Construct Academy.